to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
We as a species are, I think of the global, I think of humans, like there's so much empathy I have, things like this quarantine and this virus pandemic, like it's easier to kind of relate to everybody as, my fellow humans. And so I look at us and where we're at in the arc of history. And I look at the great technological power that we've developed through the scientific age and our enlightenment and all of that. And I look at how far we've come in participating with Christ in the renewal of all things. And I began to see the potential of how much further that can go, how much more renewal can continue to take place. And I think that as we begin to fall in love with the mystery of what it means to walk with God in the cool of the day, in the mystery of God, in the beauty of God, and to be moved by His love, I think that we're only getting started. I think that, we are able to, like, God is on the move, and He's changing people's lives. He's shifting the paradigm. And if we all take part in this and we together begin we can make our neighborhoods and our communities and our families a place that's less anxious and less dangerous and more loving and more peaceful as we follow Christ. And I'm so lit up by that idea. And I look back over history. You look back 100 years, the 20th century, like there was a lot of hell that emerged on the earth in the 20th century.
Yeah, there was.
There was tens of millions of people died in wars and famines and, man-made problems. It's like, I believe that the church, the true church, I believe as we live out our mandate for peace and unity and love, that we can push back those tendencies. We can transform our communities, our homes. We can be a nation who's not Prozac and alcoholed and dulled to death and obese, and like we can be a nation who participates more fully in the resurrection power of the gospel. And in doing so, lifting people around us out of suffering, starting with our families, starting with our inside our own heads, and living in the shalom, in the peace of Christ now as the kingdom is here and it's coming. And so I would say pursue love, because that's like, going back to this idea that, Jesus crashed into our reality. And it's like, before that, there was our basic questions were, what do we value? How do we make God happy? How do we live? How should we live? Like, is it a power play? Should I seek to be the most powerful? Should I seek to be the most wealthy? What should I value? Jesus came and He's like, love is the most valuable.
Yeah.
Love is the way. And God showed us that in the fullness of Him dwelling in Christ and here on earth first. And then it's like that reality, that awakening to that reality that, it turns out love wins. It turns out it is about love. Then we can, like, awakening to that and participating in the renewal of all things with Him as infilling us and us living in Him. Like, it's not just academic. It's not just a spiritual mumbo jumbo. Like, it actually changes our lives.
Yes.
And we can change our communities. And particularly in this time of suffering, I both rejoice in where I see that happening, and I'm encouraged in how much potential I see for us to continue to grow down there. And we're at an inflection point in history. We have unparalleled communication abilities. We have technologies that allow us to share information with anyone at any time. And we have unbelievable powers of computation, of weapons, of you name it. We are incredibly powerful, and we can wield that for good, and we can make things a little bit more like God, like the kingdom, like love, or we can make them infinitely worse.
Mm-hmm.
And if we together aim at Christ, not in a controlling or religious, or it's like there's almost nothing. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I think we've missed the point a lot. And there is a way to awaken. There's a path that is the narrow way. It's, there's few are that find it.
Yep.
But it's the path of love. And it's like Christ revealed that to us so fully. And I'm so excited about the potential of what it means when we, as I see that growing in the world, what it's going to mean for our neighbors, our communities, our families, and the redemption of all things that is coming.
Yes.
And it's here and it's coming, and we're participating in it.
Yep.
And then when Christ returns, I think we'll like have this massive, unfathomable upgrade, and it's like giddy up, you know. And so it's a great hope that we have.
Yes, we are literally building for the resurrection.
Yes.